afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for being here and for practicing. Sean, why don't you move more into the line of fire here? Yeah, that's good. Okay. So, we practice in interesting times, do we not? You know, I have had many occasions during this retreat and interview with everybody to bear witness to how this craziness is affecting all of us. And it really is. Even if you feel like you're fine in the moment, well, just wait a bit. Something's going to land. Things are landing. And it's not just we always have our own personal catastrophes. They're in ready supply. They come tailor-made. There's no avoiding them. But we have this additional layer now, don't we? We have these geopolitical terrors, challenges. And of course, the world is always with us. There's really nothing new. But sometimes it becomes more pointed, right? If you consider the long arc of human history, the vast majority of our Homo sapien fellow creatures have died horribly violent deaths, lived in radically uncertain times, far more uncertain than ours. Nevertheless, here we are. Some might say, well, how can we practice at a time like this? Ought we not be out there on Secor Road yelling at cars as they go by or something? To which I say, perhaps, that is a viable option. There are many here who are involved in all kinds of different social action work. And yet, the Dharma itself is something quite different. The Dharma itself, the practice of the Buddha Dharma, I submit to you, is the unseen, the solid base from which any bodhisattvic activity may radiate. But absent that core nutrition and that core stability and that core practice, dear one, all the jumping up and down and petitioning and yelling and arguing will do nothing more than contribute to the churn. It's very difficult to know how to engage and actually be helpful. The instant response of outrage is rarely the best. I won't say never, but it's rarely the smart move. And when I look across the ancestors of our lineage, many of them lived and died, frankly, in very, very challenging times. And yet, this torch of practice has been passed on from generation to generation in the midst of these difficulties. Not because for some 2,600 years it's been smooth and easy sailing until the recent election cycle. Suddenly the world has trouble. I think not. It just now has bad hair and too long a tie. So in a way, this is a wonderful foil. It's a great partner to practice. In fact, I would be far more concerned if everything was just going beautifully well. Because that kind of time tends to breed complacency. When all is ease and well and things are just great, you fart blessings. You find gold strewn about here and there and give it away freely because there's so much, there's no need for anything. No one lacks for anything. Careful now. That's actually more dangerous, I would say. Far easier to sleepwalk what little, and I mean little, time you have left in this life. Better to have a little grit in the shoe. It's better to have a little bit of an irritation to keep you awake. The God realms, the realms of heaven in Buddhism are no place to aim for. You wake up in heaven, be careful. Watch out. It's a very difficult place to practice. So much pleasure and loveliness. Easy to simply sleepwalk. But I tell you, eventually, whatever karma got you to this beautiful place, it will run out. Those causes and conditions will play out, and guess what happens then? Change occurs. Imagine that. I think this is one of the fundamental distinctions between what we think of as the Western spiritual mind. Really, though, it's Zoroastrian, Jewish, Islamic, Christian, that tradition. This eternal take on things, this permanent fixed. At the end of the game show, we see what's behind the curtain you picked, and that's what you'll get forever after. Not so. At least not so in the teachings of the Buddha Dharma. Rather, we have a constant and ceaseless shifting. How do you navigate this? How do you practice with it? How do we work with it? The Lankavatara, continuing on in the discussion of bodhisattvahood, begins a conversation about the 8th stage. I would like to bring it to your attention. And then we'll use Bodhidharma to help unpack it. Mind you, tradition holds that Bodhidharma brought the Lankavatara Sutra with him up from India and transmitted it to his successor. Thus, the Lankavatara is in no unclear terms the very root foundational text of this entire tradition. Let's see what it has to say. Now, the sutra says, in the 8th stage, even the notions have passed away, and all effort and all striving is seen and known to be unnecessary. All effort and all striving are known to be unnecessary. The Bodhisattva's nirvana is perfect tranquility, but it is not extinction. Neither is it mere inertness. While there is an entire absence of discrimination and an entire absence of purpose, there is the freedom and spontaneity of potentiality that has come with the attainment and the patient acceptance of the truths of egolessness and imagelessness. Here is perfect solitude, undisturbed by any gradation or any continuous succession. But it is radiant with potency and freedom of its self-nature, which is the self-nature of noble wisdom, is the self-nature of Buddhahood, blissfully peaceful with the serenity of perfect love. Whew. Sounds good? And I ask you to reflect. We say over and over again, where is your edge? Where's the edge of your practice? What is the edge of your practice? That's what we're working on. It doesn't matter what you think your practice is. It doesn't matter what you've been told your practice is. There's only one practice, and you're it, baby. You are the practice. So I ask you, where is the struggle? Where in your experience is the effort? Does your practice still take effort? You know, in the middle of the rigors of sesshin, it can seem cold comfort to hear that others don't have to expend effort. But I tell you, this effortlessness is nearer than you may think. In fact, you can't think it. It has nothing to do with what you think. Where is the effort? Where is the strain? Where does this burden, this heavy, heavy burden that you carry, where is it? Where does it land? Where does it take root? Where does it grab a hold of you? And why do you let it? Why do you allow it? Do you think yourself so insignificant that your suffering has no meaning, has no matter? No, that's not acceptable. You are nothing less than the noble one. You are the master. You are the entire cosmos. Quit playing around as though you don't matter. Quit indulging in the foolishness. It doesn't serve you, and you know it. You know it. You don't need me to tell you that. You know it. And yet, for some, like a moth to the flame, like a cat with the little red dot thing, the thing moves, meow. Meow. We like the suffering, don't we? We play with the suffering. Dare I say, you find your sense of self. You find your sense of self in this game you play. Have you noticed? I suffer, therefore I am. Bum, 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 bum. I can do this one. Well, in fact, you can. You are the master. If you decide, then so shall it be for you. I am powerless. This has no magic in it. I cannot zap you with awakening. It's, after all, not but a stick. Unless you see it as the entire cosmos smacking you upside the head with love. It's such a struggle. It takes so much out of me. Oh, it's such a lift. Oh. How many decades are you going to keep practicing that? Have you not yet realized, even for fleeting moments, that that's not actually true? Consider this very moment, exactly right now, and I'm not talking about a second ago or a second hence, I mean this exact moment. Where's the struggle? Really? Yes, there's grief, and yes, there's disappointment, and yes, the world is on fire, as we're keen to say. Nonetheless, in fact, perhaps all the more, dear one. And I tell you, when you can find and flourish within this stillness, even in the midst of the crazy, you will become a ballast for those you love. You will become capable of being of use, even if they don't agree or know a thing about it. And again, I would assert that if you don't, there's almost no way that you can be. not at the deepest, truest level. And you wouldn't be putting up with all of this. You wouldn't be putting yourself through this if you didn't already know that at some level. But please, wash yourself clean of this image that what you have to do is struggle mightily, and that somehow this is the proof of your worth. This is not an enlightenment by works. This is not awakening by strain. I understand the joy of strain. I do. I mean, I'm the guy that will keep bench or overhead pressing something when my own tendons are ripping out of my arms. I'm not letting go anyway. I understand the attraction to the struggle. I really do. It's true. It is quite silly. In the name of progress, snap. Where's your progress there, old Rinsen? Oh, yeah. Deadlifting 1,000 pounds, arms ripped out of their sockets, but I'm still holding on. It's a mere flesh wound. Am I not worthy at last? No, you're a dumbass. Aren't we strange creatures? We really are. Now about this, Bodhidharma speaks. Entering the way by practice refers to 4 all-inclusive practices. Now, I'd like to look at these as explications of this effortlessness and this strivinglessness. Okay. The first is suffering injustice, our translator has it. The second, adapting to conditions. The third, seeking nothing. And the fourth, practicing the Dharma. Now try to hear these with unconditioned ears. First, suffering injustice. When those who search for the path encounter adversity, they should think to themselves, in countless ages gone by, I have turned from the essential and dallied with the trivial. And I have wandered through all manner of existences, often angry, without cause, and guilty of numberless transgressions of all kinds. Now, though I do no wrong, I'm punished by my own past. Neither the gods nor other men can foresee when an evil deed will bear its fruit. Thus, I accept it with an open heart and without complaint. This is ultimate non-victimhood. This is ultimate taking responsibility. My elbow ripped off because I decided to overhead press nearly my body weight. It seemed like a good idea at the time. Wasn't. So now what do you do? Answer, accept your karma. Answer, accept your karma. For whatever reason, it seemed a good idea. I spent money and had a strength coach. I had safety gear. I had all the things. It made sense. The spreadsheet was immaculate. You should see it. Nonetheless, my 50-whatever-year-old tendon said, no, we're not doing this. I'm done. Pull the ripcord. Well, you did that. The barbell made it happen. Goddamn gravity in this planet, too much. Who set it up this way? Coach, you should have. No, me. Me. I'm the one who said, yeah, I'm on. Let's do it. Now, mind you, there was no indication that this lift was going to go badly. None. I was doing great. In fact, I was doing extraordinarily well, as far as I could say. No one's ever seen anything like it. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. People, everyone's saying it. If you can't laugh at the devil, you know. But nonetheless, now what? Well, now I find myself in front of Dr. Liu, who intelligently says, "What did you do?" Well, I was doing some weight training. How heavy? Well, how heavy this weight? Well, a little bit. How much? 220. Ah! Very bad, very bad. No! You stop. People depend you. No! Yes, sir. He's right. Completely right. My response? I accept my karma. I said those words literally to my doctor. I accept my karma. You're right. And then, now, am I going to go Western surgery, or I chose the Chinese acupuncture route, worked great for me. So there's some work to be done. But the essential thing is accepting that karma and not struggling with it. Does it make sense? You must accept your karma. This country has deep karma, like it or not. Whether you individually assented to it has nothing to do with it. Nothing. I know you weren't there as such. But so too does every other country and every other culture have a karma. And if we cannot accept that fully, we are powerless. We practice living in victimhood. Nobody else's fault will suffice, even if others are deeply at fault. Still, all the more, I accept my karma. This is the first teaching. The first noble truth of the Buddha is life is icky. Bodhidharma's pointer, accept your ick. Then you can work with it. Many of us are encountering the realities of an aging body. What will you do with this encounter? It's a clear example. Of course, we do, hopefully, everything we can to maintain health, to take care of the body. This is important. I spend time doing that. I hope you do as well. But ultimately, it's a one-way ticket, baby. You are not getting younger by the decade. Accept this karma. Then we can begin to work with it. There are gifts that come with the frailty of age that are denied those in the bloom of youth. Use them wisely. The sutras say, when you meet with adversity, do not be upset, because it makes sense. Now that line can land a little flat if it makes no sense. But if you think about it from the largest possible perspective of simply the universe is universing along, and I accept that fact, like deeply, then all the energy that you would have spent thrashing against what's true can now be spent on dealing with it. If you would quit struggling so much, your zazen would be much better. Right? Just sit. Well, yeah, but for me, like, no. No exemptions, no special cases, no accommodations. You are dying. There is no note from any doctor that will get you out of that. There's no hall pass to be had here. We're adults now, or at least we're trying. Reality doesn't haggle. Not interested. But you can easily turn from the essential and play with the trivial. And I'm not talking about just for a single period of zazen, dear one. You can do this for years and years, decades, playing with the trivial. I bid you stop it. Know what is trivial as trivial. Know what is important as important. Recognize what's wholesome as wholesome. Recognize that which is unwholesome as unwholesome and be done with it. It actually can be that simple. Now, you may have tons of force propelling. You may have karmic habit energy patterns with very, very strong energy. You may be unable. You may turn the wheel and the boat says no. It's going to think about it for a while. But that's not your business. Your business is hands on the wheel and know where you're trying to go. It'll take as long as it takes. Quickly, slowly, who cares? That doesn't even matter. It really doesn't. What matters is, are you awake? Are you paying attention? Are you course correcting? Do you recognize the unwholesome as unwholesome? And do you reject it? In your own mind stream. And there's a thing that happens that when you begin training in earnest, you begin to encounter the entrails of this mind. They're leaking out all over the place, and you've never noticed, but they're drooling all over you. And they leave slime when you walk. And you start to actually see it for the first time, and it's a little bit embarrassing. As it ought to be. And so you clean that up, and you learn to take care of it, and you think, well, as I practice, these things will resolve. And they do, but it gets more refined. Your sensitivities become more attuned. Your ability to sense and be in contact with what's actually happening with you increases. And this, dear one, is not always pleasant, particularly if you've played with the trivial as a distraction from yourself for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. And suddenly you're not playing with the toys anymore. Do you understand? There's that sense that something is wrong, and it's not. What's happening is you're taking yourself seriously, but you're still kind of young at it. So, ironically, after much training, Why is my mind still not at peace? Perhaps the small impurities that would have been unnoticed a decade ago are now so glaring you can barely stand the sight of them. Good for you. But really, just take that next step and drop it. You can do that at any point. This radical accepting of the karma for yourself, for the society, for the world, for the cosmos. Second, adapting to conditions. Remember, we're talking about the Lankavatara's effortlessness and non-striving. There's no way for you to sit faster. Oh, that dude's really sitting fast. We need to put some racing stripes. Put some flames on there, Zafu. It's a speed, Zafu. It doesn't work that way, does it? Adapting to conditions. Look, y'all, conditions are changing, not in ways that are all good. What are we going to do? It's quite simple. You adapt. 3 a.m, the infant screams out, and the young mother's breast swells with milk. Box on its lid. Adapt to the conditions. Meet them. When it's time to die, your body will know just what to do. You can trust it. It's the most natural thing, inevitably following birth. You handled getting born fairly well. You'll die just fine. It's this in-between stuff. Hint, go ahead and die right now. Every period of Zazen, just let everything go. Everything. Particularly the joys and the pleasures, and also the icky things and the challenging. Let them all go. Just merge so thoroughly into this breath, into this koan, into this moment, that there's no gap anywhere. Then, at such a time, where's the striving? Where's the effort? As humans, Bodhidharma says, we're ruled by conditions, not by ourselves. All the suffering and joy we experience very much depends on conditions. If we should be blessed by some great reward, some fame, some fortune, it's the fruit of a seed planted by us in the past. And when conditions change, it too will change. Why delight, therefore? Why attach, therefore, to this existence? While success, failure, praise, blame, good reputation, bad reputation, health and illness, while these things keep cycling and cycling and cycling, the mind itself neither waxes nor wanes. Realize mind. What is it that's beyond yin or yang? That is untouched by, great job, you schmo. What is it that's free within well done and correction needed? Because sometimes well done and sometimes correction needed. But where's the essential freedom? That's what you need to find. It's impossible to avoid mistakes. It's just literally not an option. Therefore, no problem. And no matter how awful you think you are, you'll actually get it right once in a while, in spite of yourself. As they say, a broken clock is right twice a day. See, no one's that consistent. You'll be right sometimes. But what is it that isn't dependent on that? How can you be effortless within? Yes and no. I tell you, it has nothing to do with shielding yourself from no and hoarding yes. That's not the answer. Never has been, never will be. There's a different kind of freedom on offer. If you can settle down, if you can let go. While success and failure depend on conditions, praise and blame, illness and health, these things matter, I understand. But while those things depend on conditions, mind itself does not. Buddha mind, your true nature, dear one, is beyond any of these concerns. Can't be touched by them. Let's see a bit of that, shall we? Bring that self to bear in this world of praise and blame, yes and no. Policies. Third, seek nothing. That is a very difficult one for many that are attracted to the Dharma, because we tend to identify ourselves as seekers. I'm a seeker of truth. I'm a seeker of wisdom. I'm a pilgrim here seeking knowledge. And the problem with that is you'll just stay a seeker forever. Enough with the seeking. Drop it. Simply realize it. Quit seeking. Stop looking. The very act of looking for it pushes it away. Didn't you know that? All this effort, striving, trying to realize this isn't helpful. This comes up over and over again. Shall I direct myself to it or not? Ultimately, words fail. But there's a reality there that you can tune into. And you have in moments. I've seen it. But for some reason, it's not durable enough yet. This is why samadhi is so critically important. You can have had a kensho that I've affirmed. And then you go off and turn away from the essential and play with the trivial, and it gets covered, does it not? We forget. We lose touch. It's still there. You can never really drop it altogether. And yet, you do a pretty good job convincing yourself. What would it be like to never drop the essential? To simply hold it and pay attention and stay with it. Fourth and final, practice the Dharma. The Dharma, says Bodhidharma, is the truth that all natures are pure. By this truth, all appearances are empty. Defilement, attachment, subject, object, praise, blame don't exist. From that place, Kuan Yin weeps for the world, and Manjushri wields that sword. But it's from that place. I understand the tears. I understand the anger. I do. But what I wish for you is to understand yourself. Really. Drop the struggle. Drop the effort. If you drop the ego, if you drop the sense of self and self-preservation and self-reification and self-defense, you'll find everything is right at hand. On the other hand, if you hold on to that self, there's no freedom anywhere. Even if it's all going your way and you're a super high roller, don't be fooled. Now, in the 8th stage, even notions have passed away. All effort and all striving are seen to be unnecessary. All drama, all storm. The Bodhisattva's nirvana is perfect tranquility, but it is not extinction. Neither is it mere inertness. While there is an entire absence of discrimination, yes, no, up, down, good, bad, right, wrong, and a complete absence of purpose, I am going to achieve it. Watch me go get it. Look, I got the it. Give me the gold star. See? Oh, I won. How many more beads are you going to do that? There is freedom and spontaneity of potentiality that has come with the attainment and the patient acceptance of the truths of egolessness. There's no self there in needing of any kind of defense. Imagelessness. Drop your ideas about how it's supposed to be and how he is supposed to be, or she, or they, or the government, or the world, or put that finger down, man. Put it down, put it away. At least for a bit. Here is perfect solitude because there's nothing outside you. There's no enemy to be found. There's no place for praise or blame to stick. Undisturbed by any gradations or any successions, any continuity, but radiant with potency and freedom of its true self-nature, which is the self-nature of noble wisdom. This noble wisdom, which is your true self, nothing less than that, is blissfully peaceful with the serenity of perfect love. Perfect love. Love without flaw or agenda. That's the response we should be bringing to this world. May it be so.
Illusions